The war had raged for 7 years, painting the void between stars with wreckage and ash. Commander Marcus Chun stood in the crystalline halls of the Valdrian Imperial Palace, feeling utterly out of place among the soaring architecture that seemed to grow from light itself. He'd come as Earth's last desperate gambit, a peace envoy to negotiate with an empire humanity had underestimated. Princess Lyris entered the chamber like a storm wrapped in silk. Her navy blue skin gleamed under the palace's eternal luminescence, and her blonde hair cascaded over shoulders that carried the weight of her dying people. Golden eyes fixed on Marcus with an intensity that made him forget to breathe. "You propose marriage," she said, her voice carrying harmonics that human vocal cords couldn't produce. "A union between our species to symbolize peace." Marcus straightened. "A strategic alliance, Your Highness." "Purely political. The conflict has devastated both our civilizations. This marriage would be ceremonial, a symbol to convince our peoples that cooperation is possible." Lyris circled him slowly, studying him like a puzzle. "You humans speak of symbols as if they hold no weight. In Valdrian culture, marriage is sacred, even when arranged." She stopped before him, close enough that he could see the bioluminescent patterns tracing her collarbones. "Can you pretend convincingly enough to fool 2 empires?" "I'm a diplomat." "Pretending is what I do?" A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Then we have an accord, Commander Chun. You will be my husband in name, and I will be your wife in performance. When peace is secured, we dissolve this arrangement, and you return to your world." The treaty was signed in blood, his red, her shimmering silver. The ceremony was scheduled for the week's end, broadcast across both territories. As Lyris's attendants led him to his chambers, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling of her golden gaze following him. That night, he found her on the observation deck, staring at the distant blue dot of Earth. "Having second thoughts?" he asked softly. "My people are starving," she said without turning. "Our agricultural worlds are ash. This marriage will bring food shipments, medical supplies, hope." She finally looked at him, vulnerability cracking through her regal mask. "I do not regret the decision. I only wonder what kind of man agrees to marry a stranger to end a war." Marcus stepped beside her. "The kind who's tired of watching ships full of soldiers burn. The kind who'd rather lie than watch one more planet die." Lyris reached out, her navy blue fingers hovering near his hand before pulling back. "In 7 days we become the bridge between our worlds. I suggest we learn to at least tolerate each other's company." "I think I can manage that, Your Highness." "Lyris," she corrected. "If you're to be my husband, even falsely, you should use my name. Then call me Marcus." She nodded, and something in her expression softened. Neither of them knew that their carefully constructed lie was already beginning to crack. The wedding ceremony blended human and Valdrian traditions in a spectacle that brought tears to billions of viewers. Marcus stood in formal Earth military dress, while Lyris wore flowing robes that shifted colors like aurora borealis, barely containing the constellation of bioluminescent marks that covered her navy blue skin in times of deep emotion. The Valdrian portion required them to stand in a pool of liquid starlight while exchanging vows in her native tongue. Marcus had practiced for days, and when he spoke the ancient words promising protection and partnership, Lyris's eyes widened. He'd pronounced them perfectly, with the correct emotional harmonics that took humans years to master. "You studied our language properly," she whispered, surprised. "If I'm going to lie, I'm going to lie well," he replied. But his voice was gentle. For the human tradition, they exchanged rings. When Marcus slipped the band onto her finger, his hands trembled slightly. Her skin was warmer than expected, and the bioluminescent patterns beneath his touch pulsed with a soft, golden glow. She noticed his reaction. and her expression shifted, something more than political calculation flickering in her golden eyes. The ceremony concluded with a kiss, required by both cultures. Their first kiss. Marcus cupped her face gently, conscious of the billions watching, and leaned in. Her lips were softer than he'd imagined during his anxious preparations. The kiss was meant to be brief, chaste, but when their mouths met, something electric passed between them. Lyris's bioluminescent patterns flared across her skin, a Valdrian response to intense emotion that she couldn't control. When they parted, she looked momentarily stunned. Her composure cracked. The reception brought them together again and again, tongue-toasting, playing their roles. During a traditional Valdrian couple's dance, Marcus had to hold her close. Their bodies pressed together as they moved to haunting, harmonic music. Her blonde hair brushed his cheek, carrying a scent like ozone and honey. "You dance well for a human," she murmured against his ear. "You feel right in my arms for an alien," he admitted before he could stop himself. She pulled back just enough to meet his eyes, her expression unreadable. "This is dangerous, Marcus." "We agreed. I know what we agreed." His hand tightened slightly at her waist. "I'm just saying the lie is easier than I expected." That night, they were expected to share quarters, the royal suite that would be their residence for the duration of this arrangement. The bed was enormous, designed for Valdrian royalty. They stood on opposite sides, the weight of expectation heavy between them. "I can sleep elsewhere," Marcus offered. "No. Servants gossip, and gossip spreads. We must maintain appearances." She paused, then added softly, "I trust you to be honorable." They lay on opposite sides of the vast bed, a careful distance between them. But in the deep night, Marcus woke to find Lyris had moved closer in her sleep. Her navy blue hand rested near his fingertips, almost touching. Her face, relaxed in sleep, was breathtakingly beautiful. He didn't move away. And when her fingers unconsciously curled around his, he let them stay. The weeks that followed were a careful dance of public affection and private distance. They attended peace negotiations side by side, their united front gradually softening the hardliners on both sides. Marcus found himself genuinely impressed by Lyris's political acumen. She was fierce in defense of her people's needs, yet always found compromise that protected Earth's interests too. "You're magnificent when you argue," he told her after one particularly heated session with the military councils. She glanced at him, surprised by the genuine admiration in his voice. "I thought humans preferred agreeable women." "Some humans are idiots." He grinned. "I prefer women who can verbally destroy admirals before lunch." Her laughter was like music, a sound he'd been trying to coax from her more often. The bioluminescent patterns on her skin flickered with warmth. He'd learned to read them. Understanding now that golden meant joy, blue meant contemplation, silver meant desire. That last one had been appearing more frequently. They were required to make public appearances across both territories. On a Valdrian agricultural world, they helped plant new crops brought from Earth, a symbolic act of renewal. Working side by side in the rich soil, Marcus watched Lyris's genuine delight as tiny shoots emerged. Dirt smudged her navy blue cheek, and without thinking, he reached out to brush it away. She caught his wrist, holding it there, her golden eyes searching his face. "Marcus!" "Your Highness!" "Commander!" An aide interrupted, and the moment shattered. But her fingers lingered on his wrist for one heartbeat longer than necessary. The nights were becoming harder. They'd fallen into a routine of lying awake, talking in the darkness about everything: childhoods, fears, dreams they'd abandoned for duty. Marcus told her about the earth forests he missed, and she described the singing crystals of her homeworld that had been destroyed in the war's early days. "I wish I could have shown them to you," she whispered one night, her voice thick with grief. "Tell me about them," he said, rolling toward her. Help me see them through your words." She did, and as she spoke, her bioluminescent patterns painted soft light across the ceiling, illustrating her memories. Marcus watched, mesmerized, until her voice faded and he realized she was watching him instead of her own light show. "What?" he asked softly. "You truly listen. Not as a diplomat extracting information, but as someone who cares about what I've lost." Her navy blue hand reached across the space between them, fingers trembling. "This wasn't supposed to happen. I know." His hand met hers, their fingers intertwining. "The treaty is nearly complete. In 3 weeks we can—" "Don't." Marcus moved closer, his thumb tracing patterns on her hand. "Not tonight. Tonight, can we pretend this is real?" Lyris's breath caught. Her bioluminescent patterns shifted to silver desire mixing with gold joy and blue uncertainty. "Marcus, if we cross this line—" "I crossed it weeks ago," he admitted. "I just didn't want to trap you in something you agreed to as politics." She pulled their joined hands to her lips, pressing a kiss to his knuckles. The gesture was so tender it made his chest ache. "You foolish, honorable human. I crossed it during our wedding kiss. I've been trying to pretend I didn't." They moved together slowly, both giving the other chance to retreat. When their lips met this time, there was no audience, no cameras, no empire watching. Just them, and the truth they'd been hiding from. The shift in their relationship was subtle but profound. They still maintained public appearances, but now every touch carried private meaning. In meetings, Lyris would brush her hand against his, and Marcus would find any excuse to stand close enough to feel her warmth. They were inspecting a border station where both human and Valdrian forces worked together, proof that their marriage had achieved its goal of cooperation. Walking through the corridors, they encountered young soldiers of both species working in harmony, and several approached to thank them. "You gave us hope," a human lieutenant said, looking between them. "You proved we don't have to be enemies." After the lieutenant left, Lyris was quiet. That evening, in their quarters, she finally spoke. "They believe in us. In what we represent. Maybe because it stopped being entirely a lie," Marcus said carefully. She turned to him, her blonde hair catching the light, her navy blue skin luminous. "When the treaty is signed next week, you're free to go." "We agreed. This ends when peace is secured." "What if I don't want it to end?" The bioluminescent patterns across her skin flared bright silver. "Marcus, you have a life on Earth, a career, family, a world that's not mine. You'd give that up for an arranged marriage that was never meant to be real?" He crossed to her, taking both her hands. "I'd give that up for you. Not the arrangement, not the political symbol, you." Lyris, the woman who argues with admirals, who mourns singing crystals, who talks in the darkness about dreams and fears. The woman I've fallen completely in love with. She made a sound between a laugh and a sob. "You ridiculous human. Do you know what you're saying? Valdrian marriages are permanent. Our biology, our culture, we bond for life. If we make this real, if we complete the marriage bond, I could never let you go. Even if you wanted to leave, even if you hated me, I would." She broke off, turning away. "I would become what your species would call obsessed. Possessive. Valdrian partners who complete the bond cannot bear separation." Marcus gently turned her back to face him. "Then it's good I have no intention of leaving. You don't understand the depth of it. Physical separation causes pain for bonded Valdrians. If you return to Earth for even a visit, I would," her voice cracked. "The longing would consume me. Then I'll bring Earth to you. My family can visit here. My career is now bridge building between our species. I can do that anywhere." He cupped her face, marveling at the softness of her navy blue skin. "Lyris, I knew the risks when I agreed to this mission. I just didn't know the greatest risk would be losing my heart to you." Her patterns blazed across her skin, silver and gold intertwining. "If we do this, there's no going back. The bonding ritual is," she hesitated, vulnerability clear in her golden eyes. "It's intimate, permanent. Everything I am becomes intertwined with everything you are." "Show me," he whispered. She led him to their bed. But this wasn't the tentative sharing of space they'd grown used to. She explained in a trembling voice how Valdrian bonding worked, a sharing of life force through touch. Through connection, through the complete vulnerability of two souls choosing to become inseparable. "Are you certain?" she asked one final time, her hands already glowing with the bioluminescent energy that would bind them. Marcus answered by pulling her close and kissing her with all the love he'd been holding back. The bonding ritual was beyond anything Marcus could have imagined. As Lyris's bioluminescent energy flowed between them, he felt her emotions, her memories, her very essence intertwining with his. He experienced her childhood in crystal palaces, felt the grief of worlds lost to war, understood the weight of crown and duty she'd carried since adolescence, and she felt him, his love for distant forests. The trauma of commanding ships in battle, the moment he'd first seen her and felt his world shift. The loneliness of being the man who carried Earth's hopes, and the overwhelming joy of finding someone who understood. When the ritual completed, they lay tangled together, both gasping. Lyris's skin glowed like a constellation, patterns shifting with every emotion passing between them. Marcus could feel her heartbeat as if it were his own, sense her presence like a constant warmth in his chest. "Now you're truly mine," she whispered, her voice carrying a fierce possessiveness that might have frightened him before. Now it only made him hold her tighter. "And I am yours, forever." "Forever sounds perfect," he murmured against her navy blue shoulder. The treaty signing came 3 days later. Both empires had gathered, and the documents were presented with great ceremony. As Marcus and Lyris prepared to sign, officially ending the war and fulfilling their political purpose, the Valdrian Empress stood. "Princess Lyris, Commander Chun, your marriage has served its purpose admirably. As agreed, you are free to dissolve this arrangement with honor." The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to them. Lyris stood, regal and radiant, her hand firmly clasped with Marcus's. "With respect, your Imperial Majesty, I must decline." Shock rippled through the assembly. The Empress's eyes widened. "Lyris, the agreement was clear." "The agreement was a lie," Lyris said, her voice strong and clear. She turned to Marcus, and her bioluminescent patterns blazed with silver and gold. "What began as political necessity became truth. I stand before you as a bonded Valdrian, forever connected to this human." She faced the assembly. "I will not release him. I cannot. He is mine, and I am his, by choice and by love." The human diplomatic corps looked stunned. Marcus's commanding officer started to stand, protest forming on his lips. Marcus squeezed Lyris's hand and addressed both assemblies. "I came here expecting to perform a duty and return home. Instead, I found home itself." He looked at Lyris, letting everyone see the love on his face. "This woman is my wife, truly. She's the bridge between our worlds, yes, but she's also my partner, my equal, the person I choose every day. If Earth cannot accept that, then I resign my commission." "That won't be necessary, Commander," his superior said slowly, a smile starting to form, "though it might complicate the personnel assignments." The Valdrian Empress studied them for a long moment, then began to laugh a sound like bells. "It seems, honored guests of Earth, that we've been outmaneuvered by our own political strategy. The marriage that was meant to end with the treaty has instead given us something more lasting." She gestured to them both. "Rise, Ambassador Chun and Princess Consort Lyris. Your union has brought peace." Let it also bring lasting alliance. The chamber erupted in applause from both species. As the celebration began, Marcus pulled Lyris into a private alcove. "No regrets?" he asked. "You could have let me go." She grabbed his collar, pulling him down for a fierce kiss. "I told you during our bonding, you felt it. I could never let you go. You're mine, Marcus Chun, and I am ridiculously, completely in love with you." "Good," he grinned against her lips, "because I have a feeling the Valdrian Empress is going to make my life very interesting. That's what you get for marrying a princess." She kissed him again, softer this time. "Come, we have a treaty to celebrate and a life to begin." As they returned to the celebration hand in hand, both could feel through their bond the absolute certainty of their choice. What began as a fake wedding to save two worlds had become the realest thing in either of their lives. And Princess Lyris would never, ever let him go. Not because the bond forced her to keep him, but because she'd chosen him, wholly and completely, and would choose him again every day for the rest of their shared lives.